when you look at the external forces that cause trauma to people, it's like, the first slide you've seen, like natural disasters that they identified as trauma. Well, it's not always just natural disasters that happen that leaves people psychologically traumatized. As you can see the list here, it can be any one of these things that would impact people. It could be the people, and we really don't think about stuff like this as trauma, because we live in it on a daily basis, right? So we don't really consider these things as trauma. Household instability. If you're homeless, you lose your home. That's trauma, right? And physical and emotional neglect, and we wonder why our children have a lot of issues, because they don't realize that. Like, I've worked in family services for 17 years, and when I worked with these children, I had to let the foster parents know whenever a child is removed from their parents, that's traumatizing for them. So when they're traumatized, these foster parents have to put up with these physical and emotional experiences that these children are experiencing. So these are their experiences that they have to deal with. And that is traumatizing to these children. So we have to learn how to work with these children when they're traumatized as something like this. And it's even when families are involved in substance and drug abuse, the children are traumatized by that. And we wonder why the children go to school and they have behavioral problems. Well, these are some of the reasons why they have behavioral problems, and parents don't recognize that if they're in that system, of alcohol and drug abuse and domestic violence, and they're struggling with their own mental health issues, and and there's always that conflict in the home. They don't realize the impact that it has on that child's ability to function within the school system because of the trauma that they're experiencing in the home. And like I said, when they're traumatized, their brain shuts down. They're not open to receiving what is being given to them. So we have to take on a different approach when we're working with these children, and just being patient with them and helping them understand what happened in their life. And that's one thing I always say to the educators, well, we have to look at the family environment. We have to look at what is going on with them in the home, what happened to them. And that is where our foundation begins, is not looking at why are you acting like that? Because growing up, that's what I find when my mom and dad got after me, because they didn't know any differently, right? They didn't know how else to approach it. Why are you doing that? Well, we don't know why we're doing that. It is part of the effects of, or the impacts of whatever it is that we were dealing with at that day. And maybe bullying could be traumatizing to a student. They don't want to go to school, and then you don't know about the situation that child's going through, and you wonder why they're being labeled in school. Well, they're not sharing that information with you because of fear. So if you wonder why your child is being labeled, saying, oh, he's being bad, or he's not listening, well, what happened to him, and that's causing him not to listen? Or what is it that happened that's causing him to act out? So just, taking that approach when you're working with parents or working with educators, those are the kind of questions that you ask when you're meeting with the educators, and trying to find out, okay, what is the root cause of that behavior? What happened? What happened to you? So that's how, when I'm working with students, and something goes on in their life and they're brought to me, to talk to, I always sit down and I never ask them, well, why are you acting like that? And I always sit down with them and say, okay, tell me what happened. And so they'll always tell me, well, this happened, blah, blah, blah. I woke up this morning and I got into an argument with my mom, and I come to school and I'm really grouchy. So, there's always a root to something that happens within the school system, and why that child is behaving the way they behave. And So you got to keep in mind, when I was doing this this study on the Greek word of trauma, and I looked at it from the biblical perspective, and trauma is not foreign to us. Like when you look at the scriptures, the Bible talks about all the things that happened to, throughout the years, from Genesis all the way up to the apostles. There was trauma right through the whole Word of God. But then the comforting thing about that is that God is the one that provides the healing that we need in our life. And I always talk to kids, just comforting them with words, and because in being in the school system, you can't really share your faith. You have to go about it in a roundabout way and bringing comfort to them. So when I was looking at that, it made me realize that trauma is not new. It's always been there. And I just wanted to share, I think there's scriptures that I left on the notes there that can be shared later on. And it talks about the woman in the well and how she went and was at the well when Jesus was there. And that's what, like God knows our hearts, right? He knows what we go through. He knows already what it is that we're experiencing. And he doesn't, when he went to the woman, when he was talking to the woman at the well, he didn't ask her, well, why do you have 5 husbands? He didn't take it from that context. That is how we need to deal with people without judgment. And when we're working with trauma, that we need to realize that we need to approach them and find out what is happening to these children. And even as adults, we deal with trauma that has happened to us maybe in childhood, and we're carrying that with us right into our adulthood. But it's how you approach that triggers, how you address them, how you see yourself. And this is where you need help to recognize that whatever happened to you is not your fault. You're not a bad parent. You just need to see things in a different light. And it's not that your children are bad. It's not that they're misbehaving. They're doing something for a reason. So we need to find out what are those reasons. Like, what happened to you? Why this behavior is coming out? So it's just coming from that approach and realizing that we need to reach out to our kids, that we need to reach out to one another and kind of walk through whatever it is that they're experiencing. And then we as adults have that ability to stop that generational curse. That the way that I see it, it's a generational curse, because fear is not of God, right? So it's something that we need to get a hold of and understand that concept and walk them through that valley, and helping them understand that, okay, take a step back and let's look at this from the bigger picture, and let's change what type of lens we're going to be wearing, and letting them know that we're going to walk with you through this trying time. So in a nutshell, this is just the beginning of the sessions, because trauma it's something that, this is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. So as time goes on, we'll get deeper into it, and at the end of the sessions, the last one will be provided with strategies and what you can do to help and support those that are going through the traumatizing experience, and how you can be trauma informed and working with those that are traumatized. So with that being said, that is the end of this session. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer them the best I can. I don't have all the answers, but I can certainly help to search them out. And that's my goal as a facilitator, is just helping people navigate through times and issues that are being talked about. And this, you'll notice on the last page, those are the resources where I got the information from. So if you want to reach further into this, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more that can be said on just understanding what trauma is. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it back over to the host, and if you have any questions and you want to talk a little bit about, what that means to you, like how can you further understand it, like, it's like I said, it's something that is going to be there, but it's how we manage it is going to be the answer to it.